Hi, this lesson I'm going to be showing you how to carve a little turtle in a bar of soap. Now, this is a great way to involve young people in getting started with carving. If you have anybody in your life that you're not quite comfortable giving a sharp tool to yet, and that might be adults, I don't know. I sometimes wonder about myself sometimes, but it's a great way to get young people involved in working with 3-dimension, shaping things, and just being able to visualize something in 3-dimension. So all I did was I've got a bar of ivory soap. You can use any kind of bar of soap, any kind of brand. And it really smells nice too. So if you take a look at what I've got here, and it's really just 4 little feet, all head, and then the the shell of the turtle. And now you can do a lot of studying on turtles, and the number of the hexagon shapes on the back. There is an actual mathematical way that they're generally placed across the shell. I'm not getting into that. This is a stylized, artistically interpreted turtle. But again, it's a really great way to get involved, get children involved. And then once you're done and you've got all these little shavings of soap, then you can just throw them in the bath. It's or maybe they can actually carve it or shape it while they're in the bath. Who knows? And then just get 2 jobs done at once. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start. And so this one came out of the same size bar of soap. And the best way to do this is viewing it from the top. Okay, if you start from the top, and we're just going to draw on the outline. Now, I just want to show you some of the tools I have. These are just standard things that I've collected. I used to do a lot of clay work, just a bunch of different shaped tools. You could also simply get away with a plastic butter knife. This is a little small butter knife there. These are various clay tools. And then there's also dental tools. Now this is starting to get a little sharper, but that's for doing more scoring and things like that. But really anything you can find that it requires very little amount of effort. And so what I'm going to do, viewing from the top, just going to start to outline. So there's a little foot right there, and there's a little foot right there. And now there is actually a little tail. So let's just have a little pointed area there so we can have the tail. All right. And then this is going to come around like that. And let's see, there's going to be the front little feet there coming out. So all I'm doing is just looking at it as if I'm looking at it from the top view. All right. Then there's going to be the head right there. And then there's going to be the other little foot right there. So the feet are going to be pointing right towards all the 4 corners. And again, you can use any of these. This is it really ends up doing more scraping. All right. Okay, so let's see. So from the top view, you can see, from there. Okay, and at this point, once you get that showing from the top view, now I can take and just notch out and remove those little areas that are notched out right there, and take it all the way down to there. So as if you can take and do exactly the same on the back side, but just this whole area is removed. Okay, so you can do it that way. You can also take this and just scrape it, but do very gentle, not taking too much away, and then come at it from that side and then come at it from that side. So I'm not really shaping any of the real the shaping of the shell or anything like that yet. I'm simply looking at it as if it's viewing from the top. And once I get all of these, now this is the part right here where you have to be a little careful. If it goes too far or you're pushing it too hard, that leg could end up breaking. So just want to scrape it, take a small amount at a time. Do you see how I'm just taking a straight edge there? All the way down straight this way. In other words, not rounding off anything. Okay. Okay, probably go a little bit further in. So I'm creating a curve there. This is starting to form this edge of the shell right there. Do you see how easy this comes off? And you can use whatever material or whatever tool you can that does some scraping. Now this one, obviously, this is a plastic knife, and you're going to have some interesting texture marks from that. If you didn't want that, you maybe want to use something that doesn't have the little serrations on there. All right, so this is the tail. Do the same thing there. So basically, you will know whether the young people in your life are at the point where you're comfortable with them using carving gouges or carving knives, that type of thing. You'll know whether they're in that position of being safe at that age where they can be safe with it. But, until that time, even if you're perfectly comfortable with the safety part of it, this is just a fun way to start the process. And it's a good way to get everybody involved. So you can do like a Saturday night craft project and buy a couple dozen bars of soap and take whatever you can out of your kitchen drawer and find out what you can use to scrape this. Now, another way to do it, to do this type of carving, sort of that step before you actually get to wood carving, is you want to take some plaster of Paris, and you take a container that can be torn apart. Let's say like one of those cardboard milk jugs, milk cartons. And then you can pour that in and basically fill it up about halfway. So you get this square of plaster of Paris that you pour it in and you let it harden. And then you've got something. Plaster of Paris is very easy to scrape also. And so you can do that where you don't necessarily need sharp tools, but you've got a nice square to start with. And it really depends on how large you want to do that. And how large you want that block. You can use whatever you can, whatever material, whatever box to form that piece. And then you can do exactly the same thing, and it's going to then you can use scraping it rather than necessarily using sharp tools. I remember doing that when I was in must have been middle school. I think I was probably about 12 or 13, and we poured these We ended up with these square blocks of hardened plaster of Paris. And I think that was probably one of the first times that I remember I was really got excited about the whole three-dimensional sculpture part of it. Really had fun with that. Wish I had that carving that I did way back. Okay, so looking at the front there, or the top view. So both the top and the bottom are exactly the same at this point. So let's just clear this away so I don't that. But you see how nice those little leftovers. So you can just put all of those in a little soap dish and use it. Okay, so now let's see what's going on. Now, unfortunately, I've got the word ivory written all over that. And no, the company is not paying me to do this. Maybe I should talk to them. Who knows? Okay, so if you look at the side view now, do you see how these legs are set back? They're towards the bottom here. And so what I need to do is just lower this down, okay, so that those legs, they don't fill up. Like right now, they fill up the whole thing. Now I'm just going to draw a line, let's just say about halfway, right there. Just scratch a line in there along all of the legs. And all this part on top is going to be taken away from that line up. All that's going to be taken away, and we're just going to have these little legs left down there. So I'd say about halfway. I'm just going to go around all of this and scratch that in. Unfortunately, with the serrated knife, the scratch does not show up as much. Okay, and now what I need to do is take and I'm going to lower this down. All right, so just going to take the top part of the legs and just come right up to there. Now, do you see what I did? I started doing this so it's going towards the inside or towards the turtle rather than out, because sometimes when you go like that, you could end up breaking that outer edge, right? But this way, and this is very similar to wood carving, you want to have the pressure of those cuts in towards the inside rather than off the edge, because if you let it go off the edge, that's when you can easily break. So there's quite a few things similar to wood carving. The one thing you don't have to worry about with this is you don't have to worry about grain direction. You can pretty much go whatever direction you want. Okay, so you can maybe come from the side and re-angle it. Now, even with these, you want to start a practice of not cutting towards yourself, because when you do eventually get into wood carving, that is definitely something you don't want to do. So start now getting used to that, not cutting towards, not pointing a knife towards yourself. Okay, so there's a couple ways you can do this. You see how I've got my thumb there, and I can just take it like that. And you see just scraping it? All right. Or you can brace it like this and then go like that. A little less controllable like this because there's nothing that's really bracing it. But if you take small amounts away, it should be fine. All right, so we've got 3 of these little feet that are about halfway down. Do one more here. You do a little scoring of that, and that'll stop it. Sometimes if you do a cut like that, very gently, then you come in like that and it'll stop right at that line. Now these legs are getting a little thin, so you really need to be careful. Very easy to break these. Okay, all right, so now if you look at that, this could be the head. I think that's the head. It's a little bit larger, and then there's a little pointed tail. All right, so I need to take that little tail and make it a little bit more pointed, so we know which one is the head and which one is the tail. Okay, and now, so we've got those lowered. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start to round the shell over. And before I do that, I want to, well, let's get rid of that so it doesn't get in the way. I'm going to take and draw the outline of the head. Okay, so we've got that. We've got this little head right there. So just make an outline of it so we know where it is. And then the rest of this, the shell, is going to be rounded over. So just start to go like that. And then you can take that little tail, little pointy tail. Now that tail actually probably should be down here also, so and I'm going to stop before I reach the head. Yeah, I think what I'll probably do, let's just make the whole shell like this. And I'm going to try to get rid of the ivory. The name there. Ooh, it smells so nice. All right, now before I go too far, I want to take this and separate the head from the body. Okay, now notice I'm really trying to do this whole thing with just the simple plastic knife. Not going to get any real specialty tools or anything like that. So you can do this. Now the problem really with this is you'll have these lines. So at some point you want to use something smoother so that I don't see these lines from the little cuts or the little edges of the knife. In fact, I think I probably should do that now. Let's just take this one. It's a little smoother. Okay, do the same thing and just smooth over that. Okay, so this really smooths over. It gets rid of any of those little scratch marks. Goes along that surface. All right, there's still a little bit of the imprint of the name on there. Let's try to get rid of that. So all that's doing is just taking a little bit of that top surface off. Okay, so now I think I could probably go around and let's define this little head. All right, really round that over. And just go around and so that this looks like a little ball right there. And then also, you see, if you look at it from there, this, to make it look like the head is lifting up. Okay, so there, this part here needs to be taken away, right there. So, just going to come right down here so that the head looks like it's being lifted up. So you can do anything you want with these. You can make a little bunny rabbit. You can make a cat. You could do whatever you want. And you know what? You can have fun with it and design your own. So there's no, with this, we can, with it being artistic, it can be your own design if you want. And it's what they call stylized, a stylized turtle. That's why this is not exactly what a real turtle looks like completely. I'm sure there's a lot of little details that you could do to make this look like a real turtle, but we're not doing that. This is the nice thing about this. You can do it however you want. And make sure that you're having fun doing it. Now, you can see the little head sticking up, because it really is a lot of fun when you can just lose yourself in something and just forget about time and just play with it and shape it and scratch across the surface. And all right, so what I'm doing here is I'm just rounding off those feet. Just rounding it off, and I'm also getting rid of those scratch marks from that other knife. Okay, and then, so just have fun with it. And you know what? If you end up just with a pile of soap shavings at the end of it, then that's okay too. Okay, so each one of these I'm just taking and kind of giving a little bit more of a rounded edge, and maybe do a little bit underneath, and so it rounds over there. Okay, and from what I remember about turtles, I think that little tail sticks out from underneath the shell, so We'll just do a little bit of a step right there. So that's where the shell goes. Little tiny tail. Seem to remember there's a little stubby tail sticking out. Okay, so now it's nice and shiny by taking and doing that scraping like that. It really shines up that. And I still have the ivory showing, but that's all right. Now, if you look at the back side of this, do you see how these they're six-sided, they're called hexagrams, and they all join into each other. So I'm just going to do one in the center here, and then we'll make everything go from there. And I'm just taking this one. This is, you might want to actually draw on very lightly these, and so you know where they're going. But this is really what makes it that turtle look. Okay, so there's the first one. Make sure there's 6 sides. Okay, so that's the first one. And then the next one is going to be down a little further. So you may want to try practicing drawing these just on a piece of paper so you know what they look like. To try to get these nice and even. And you know what? You could also just leave these out, and then it still looks like a turtle, even without these. So then just that. And all it's just doing is scraping very lightly across. It's like you're drawing on the surface. And do you see how they all join in to each other? So yeah, got a little sloppy. In fact, that one actually is a little smaller than the first one I did. If you can see the details on that. And let's do maybe one more extending out. All right, so anyway, let me just get a little brush. Okay, so if you go over that surface, and if you take just a regular paintbrush, doesn't really need to be anything, but you want to have something that's a little stiff, because then it's going to take out all the little details. Okay, and now if you want to get really, really detailed, I'm going to do an eye right there, a little hole there, and a little hole there. And if you really want to have fun, we can do a smiley face. Make a happy, oh, he's not looking very happy. A happy turtle. And when you're making these kind of details, you want to make sure that you use a small enough tool so you can really make a nice, there. He's a happy turtle. He's not a very happy turtle right now. Let's make him happier. Okay. So, and then if you want to just take smaller little things, and you can do a little bit more detail, a little bit more refining, separating the head from the body, and then the little tail. And if you want to take that, and so that's the edge of the shell, and then there's this little tail sticking out from underneath. Okay, so this is where you can just do a lot of playing around with it. And okay, so now, okay, well, I hope you had fun with that. I certainly did. And oh, and it smells so nice. Although it's as you start opening this up, it actually almost gets a little overwhelming with the smell of the soap. So you might want to sort of open up the door, or maybe do this outside. That might be a better one. But again, a great way to get started and to start visualizing how to do the layering and how to do, you know, the feet step back a little bit and then rounding over the shell. And you can do so much with this tiny little block of soap. So I hope this is a great start to your new carving career. Happy carving! Happy soap carving!